Hello and welcome to another video from Fantasy Football Scout. My name is David and today I'm joined again by Chris and Mark as the FPL price reveals continue, and we are now in a position where we've had team reveals from all 20 clubs, roughly 5 or so from each team. We've had some prices drop in quartets on the Twitter feed of official FPL and the clubs. A couple of prices have come through via email and by the app as well, and it does put us in a position where we can start thinking about those first drafts even before the game has launched, especially when combined with a few other apps as well. So we're in a really exciting position where we are kind of hoping that the actual game itself is imminent, but in the meantime we can already start planning. So how are you guys doing? Here we are again, bit of deja vu, some more players.
What's this? I will be upset if I didn't have a daily check-in with you around lunchtime. I'm hoping we have some people joining us. Who knows? The game could go live while we're on air, which would be crazy, wouldn't it? We don't know if it's going to. Who knows? At any point from now, really. So it's a very exciting stream. But until then, like you say, we do have enough prices now, and certainly I think enough indications from those prices of other prices to start getting into the drafting in earnest, even before we've got our team ID up there. So yeah, it's exciting. I hardly slept. Look at his eyes. My God. I hardly slept last night. It wasn't entirely because of this. My family's basically gone on holiday to Italy without me because of that's just the dedication we do for you guys out there. I'm missing a family holiday to Italy for 5 days to be here working on Scout, so we can give you as much as we possibly can for the new season. So yeah, they got up at 6 a.m. this morning, which didn't help, but there you go. Sorry, that was totally unnecessary, wasn't it? Mark, what are you doing?
Well, it's sort of like a Christmas Day vibe today, like just sort of excited. Don't know what time Santa's coming, but it's big day. Pretty excited. Been drafting and regretting them and drafting again. Yeah, bring it on.
Are you going to be making sure you leave some milk and cookies by the fireplace, Mark? Or perhaps maybe the more appropriate thing would be leaving some potato salad out for Thomas Soucek. That's about the only food that I know a Premier League player definitely likes. Is that any other traditions in your household, Mark, that sort of liken this to Christmas?
No.
Just planning and drafting. Well,
I've left the carrot out, but I don't know why that is. I just,
that's nothing to do with FPL
I
or
just carrot
Christmas.
outside. But no, it's Christmas. I don't. It's like Christmas, isn't it? It's like we've already got half. It's like some people I know do Christmas Eve. They kind of unwrap a few presents before, and then they have the main. And it's been a bit like that, hasn't it? It's been a bit like that over 3 days. So we've kind of got we're finally we're getting there now. I think we've got almost everything, and it's exciting to just get started, isn't it? Now,
yeah. Well, you've unwrapped a wallet.
Yeah, it starts.
You've unwrapped a wallet and maybe I don't know, some socks. That's what we've had so far. I don't know which Premier League team counts as the socks. Probably like Wolves. No offense, but I'm just not interested in their players this year. But yeah, we can start to open some of the more exciting presents, like maybe just something. Well, just a bit more exciting than socks. I've drawn a blank, to be honest, in terms of what's more exciting than socks. That
Scale Electrics. We've got Scale Electrics, the big
okay.
one. Remember that? Oh God, I've redated myself.
Clearly, I don't remember being a kid. That's the problem. I was about to be like, a DVD box set, but then I was like, oh no, that's going to age me. Like, oh dear. So, well, let's just stop with the analogies and let's just like crack right into it. Chris, do you want to tell us what you've been up to in the last couple of days on Plan FPL? A bit more about what Plan FPL is and how it's enabled you to come up with your first draft, which seems pretty accurate in terms of prices we expect before the game's even here. So yeah, talk us through that. The scale electrics, if you will.
I will do that. Yeah. So Plan FPL is one of, if not the best planners out on the market at the moment, and it's now part of the Scout Network family. It basically allows you. It's a team planner. It allows you to go in and sort of pick players each week and plan your next 38 game weeks if you're so inclined to plan that far ahead, and you can have multiple different drafts for free. I think the first 3 or first 5 are free, and then there's you have to kind of unlock it. It's got an app. I know, an app. Fantasy Football Scout associated with an app. I know, crazy, right? But it's got an incredible app, so it works on Google and Apple phones really nicely. And it's got loads of good features in it. You can plan ahead. It shows you the prices. Obviously, it shows you the next the fixture difficulty for the next 5. There's quite a little bit of data in and around it as well about kind of fixtures and fixture difficulty and pairings. And for members, at some point very soon, this will also pull in some of the data from our members area for Fantasy Football Scout managers to be able to use this and also pull in their kind of the ratings, the Rate My Team data. We're working on that. We will be live definitely before the start of the season, maybe very soon indeed. So we've been working on that for a while. But yeah, it's very exciting. And the thing at the moment about that tool, and you can go to it right now and you can sign up for free, planfpl.com. The thing it's been doing over the summer or over the last few weeks is they've been estimated player prices, which I think came from Live FPL, another part of the Scout network. And that they kind of estimate the price of the players. There's a few people have done it. It's obviously a little bit finger in the air. There's algorithms and AI and very clever ways of working it out. And now currently, Plan FPL is filled with a mixture of live prices because Reese, who runs it, updates it on the fly. He's very, very dedicated and hardworking like the rest of us. And obviously a few projected prices in there as well. But I think it hasn't got, I don't think they've gone through and changed all the projected prices, but I think the prices have been pretty close. What's come out, there's been a few shocks here and there, 500,000 one way or another, maybe a few players a bit lower, but actually they've not been far off. So right now you can build straight away, right now, before the game goes live, you can build a team which you'll be pretty sure you can get. Maybe you might have to change a 4.5 for a 4 just to make that extra 500,000 available. But generally, you'll be able to get that team that you want. And you can start building it right now while we wait for the game to launch, which could be any minute now. Wait a minute. No, it's
we are definitely those kids that found the secret present in many ways. If we're using Plan FPL and we've basically already got a first draft before the game's even here, Mum and Dad are going to come in and tell us off, I reckon, for finding that present. Well, let's hope not. Let's hope not. Well, now that you've opened the present, Chris, do you want to talk us through the bells and whistles that it's got on it? So we've got your team on the screen. I've got Pickford in goal, Leno on the bench, James, Tarkowski, or Kanji in defence, Rashford, Matoma, and Burmo, Saka, Salah as your midfield, Haaland and Enciso up front, and then your bench is Henry, Bell, and Adebayo. So who were the first names on that team sheet? Who are the ones that you're not sure about yet, could potentially change around depending on when live prices arrive, things like that? So yeah.
I mean, it's less about live prices now and more about pre-season form and suddenly panicking about missing certain players. Yeah, I think obviously if we suddenly get Arsenal defenders coming in massively cheaper, what was really interesting was Saka reveal. I don't think we can talk about the price reveal recently for those that haven't been following, but Saka coming in at the same price as Odegaard. We haven't had Martinelli's yet, I don't think, but I'm going to assume they're all going to be pretty much of a muchness in the Arsenal midfield. So it's those sort of things. Suddenly, if Martinelli came in like 7.5, maybe those sort of switches are things I'd look at, but I'm not expecting there to be massive differences. So the first players in the team sheet, I won't go too much as I said yesterday, but was James, was Haaland, obviously. I mean, Haaland was probably first. Reece James, when I saw that come out 5.5 yesterday, it was like no brainer. So my son's watch is going off. And then Salah. I think Salah had scored good points despite having a down season. I don't think you can start consider yourself as a proper player without Salah. You have to be very brave. I know Mark Sutherland, I think, went without Salah at the start of last year. Maybe it didn't hurt him this year, but he struggled. And then I want Brighton, and Matoma was when that came out, and especially since I've seen March is also 6.5. That I'm stuck with that. I definitely want them from the start. They've got 2 great fixtures to begin with, and I think they might start like a train even without McAllister. And Buemo, you kind of I was intrigued because I had Tony for a lot of last season and he was great for me. And so the chance to get someone at much cheaper playing that same role as it looks like he will currently, out of position, that seemed like a great way to that's a sort of a starting player, and at 6.5, I'm quite happy with that. And then building around that, Rashford, I've alternated between Rashford and Fernandes. That's going to be, there'll be a United position, a United midfield stroke forward player, and that'll either be Rashford or Fernandes. I think I'll be monitoring what's happening pre-season and seeing. I am also interested in Shaw because I thought he was brilliant last year, and he's looked a bit more like the player that was for England than he had done in previous times. So I think he might be in the mix. But yeah, for United, that's that. I've given the big decision so far, and I talked about this bit yesterday, is no Trent. I can't really justify it, really. The price is just so much. the price differential is just too much, right? I can't justify going when I can get decent 5 or 5.5s. 8 million just takes such a chunk out of your squad, and it does impact everywhere else, that I can't yet justify it. Obviously, I'm going to eat my words when he starts with like 3 assists and 2 clean sheets and whatever. But for now, I'm going to wait and see with him. I think I might, and I don't really think anybody else in Liverpool defence I want. If I want another Liverpool player, it's going to be up front. It's going to be if Darwin's starting, every game and does great jobs. If the new guys coming in do a great job, then that might change my my opinion there. So I don't know. Those are, and Pickford, of course. How can I not? England was number 1, best goalkeeper in the world, possibly, apart from a lot of the other ones. But he is. I think we're going to be tight. I think Everton defence. At the moment, I'm doubling up. I think we are going to be really good value for those prices. I think Dyche is Dyche. He's not suddenly going to turn into company. He's not like Burnley going to change into this, possession, free flowing, attacking type, type character. So I think it's I think Everton certainly. I think their opening fixtures are fine. I think we'll keep a lot of clean sheets and certainly keep the score down. We don't, and Tarkowski's a threat in the box. Will be playing corners in. I think that's. Yeah, I think that's it. Akanji's kind of a holder. I want a City defender. That's kind of in at the moment. I don't actually know that's the accurate price. That might be too low, and I might need to change things around a little bit. But that's where we're at.
Yeah, and you've got Luton on the bench as well. You've got Bell on the bench, who at the moment looks like...
I've got a 4 million defender, but Bell's a starter at 4 mil, right?
Yes, exactly. So he's a starting 4 million defender, and he rotates nicely with Everton. Luton is one of the budget defensive rotations that we sort of picked out. And so when Everton come up against some teams that you maybe don't want to start 2 defenders against, like perhaps Gameweek 2 against Villa, you can bring Bell in from the bench to start him at home against Burnley, for example. So your defensive rotation looks like it's already... you're already thinking about that, which is good.
I think I'll be that. Adebayo, I don't know. Again, from what I can see, starting player, but that is subject to change. There's a little bit of filling out as always on the bench. I want Henry's deliberate. I want a Brentford defender as well. I think Brentford. If I had the choice to get Raya in again, if Raya was staying, I would probably want to try and build him into side, but he's not, and I don't yet know how good the new keeper's going to be, or who is, the options is going to be. So I'm kind of Henry's going to, he's I think he's played virtually every game. Certainly, he's a regular starter. That I think he's another price. I think it's it's a good defense to kind of buy into. So yeah.
Yeah, he's looking really good.
Yeah, that's it. So far, I'm done. I mean, I've got now 5 weeks off. So see you guys.
Cheers, Chris. See you later. Well, Mark, let's get your thoughts on Chris's team. Is there anything that stands out for you? Anything that looks good? Anything that you feel like you might need to work on? It's treat yourself like you're a teacher, and it's the summer homework. How's he done? Get your red pen out.
Well, in terms of midfield and up front, as we'll see, mine's pretty similar. I haven't gone for Enciso up front, firstly because we don't know if he's going to be a forward or a midfielder, but sort of really struggling with a second striker right now. Our defence, Chris, is pretty different.
How could you not want Everton defenders? I don't know what's wrong with you.
There is Pickford. There is Pickford, but there's sort of this. The Brighton midfielder of choice, that is it Matoma, is it March, is it Gross? I think they've all been priced the same, so that's just tossing a 3-sided coin.
Tossing a 3-sided coin? What's that? Is that a saying? Well, I've never heard that before.
You can get 3-sided dice, or alternatively, you can use a 6-sided dice as a D3, as anyone who plays Warhammer will know.
You get a 3-sided dice, a 6-sided die from half, and you get 2 3
No, so no, what rolling a D6 as a D3 is you roll a normal D6, which is a 6-sided dice, and a 1 and a 2 is 1, a 3 and a 4 is 2, and a 5 and a 6 is 3. So, Mark, get one of those out.
Yesterday it was Star Trek. Today it's like Dungeons and Dragons.
Warhammer. It's very different. It's very different.
Warhammer,
you're going to need one of those, Mark, because you're going to need that for the Brighton midfield, it sounds like. Get a dice out.
I know, just to say, Warhammer, the guy launched Games Workshop, a guy called Sir Ian Livingston, who's actually a member of the site. He is the only games industry knight. He's also a guy that was in charge of IDOS when Tomb Raider came out. Personal friend, but no, he's spoken at some other business in the games industry, and he's spoken at a few conferences. But he's a great guy, but he loves his fantasy. So that was my tedious time, but yeah, great Ian Kingston, games industry knight, very rich man as well. So if you're in the mini league with him, it'll be expensive.
Yeah, that's true. But also, if you're in a mini league with him, he might be able to provide you with the right type of dice to pick the right Brighton midfielder. Does that sound like maybe how you might have to go with it, Mark? Because I know what you mean. They're all very similar, aren't they?
Yeah, and I'm sure those of us who have an Arsenal midfielder and a Manchester United midfielder today, it might be Saka and Rashford, but I'm sure over the next few weeks it'll flip flop between Rashford and Fernandes, Saka and Odegaard. It's just gonna, because we like to overthink, don't we? But yeah, and it's a similar sort of Brighton situation. But yeah, there's a strong base to the team. I think the price points is pretty good. Just thinking there, for example, you wanted Son to come in. Well, he's very similarly priced to Saka, the same price as Saka and Rashford, so that shouldn't be too difficult to do. Yeah. Stuff like that, really. I think one of the most important things you can do with your first team is have a good spread of prices. So,
yeah, no, that's definitely true. We should probably at some point in this stream talk about the price revealed for those who didn't see it, because I don't know if everyone's seen it. Because one person in the window is pointing out something which three-sided dice. Sorry, that was great. Magic 69, fantastic, good Everton time. But somebody pointed out that you will have seen a lot of them on the FPL feed, but they were actually also, if you had the FPL app. Or the newsletter, they were also streaming out some extra prices to that. So you might not have seen that Neto came out for 4.5 at Bournemouth goalkeeper. Matthias Janssen from Brentford with 5.5. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, 6 million forward. Now, in the unlikely event he actually plays many minutes, 6 million for what would be our first choice for forward, that would be incredible. And then Pedro Porro at 5 million, also quite tasty, I imagine. Sorry, I just saw that coming up.
No, that's useful information, yeah, because we have had a few more reveals this morning, which have fed into Plan FPL, which is quite useful. And yeah, I've just thrown a few of the other ones up on the screen for people if they've not already saw it. We have Man City, we got De Bruyne at 10.5, Bernardo Silva at 6.5, Grealish at 7.5, and Stones at 5.5. Still a defender, thankfully. Although if he keeps up his new role, he might be a midfielder next season. Then with Spurs, we've got Kulusevski at 7 million. Richarlison as a 7 million midfielder, which is also very exciting in a world if Kane leaves and Richarlison becomes a new centre forward, then we could also have another OOP midfielder for a decent price. Kane has come in at 12.5, which seems quite fair. I've not seen him in many people's thoughts at the moment because we just don't know what's happening with him, but it's good pricing because it helps make difficult decisions between Salah.
Yeah, I just think that Kane. Just talk about that for a second. I don't think you can really do that. I just don't think you can go there because it's so uncertain what was going. I will be amazed if Daniel Levy would turn down what's looking going to be like 100 million quid for a player that will go in the summer for nothing otherwise. I know that Kane's important to Spurs and I know he's a legendary player and everything, but 100 million quid, that buys you a lot of other players, right? And I'd be amazed if they wouldn't take that up. I can't see Kane signing a new contract. So much as Sam, of FPL family, our lady in on the Hill pods and everything, she's obviously loves Spurs and she's season ticket and everything, but she obviously doesn't want him to go. But I just don't see a logical why he'd stay. I mean, I guess it was the same last season, but now is he last year's contract, right? And there's no extension clauses. Why is Kane going to sign a new deal? There's no incentive for him to do that at all. So I just can't see it happening.
I mean, I think I'm saying this just off the fly, really. Like Man United have obviously been linked with him a lot. Mark, if Kane went to Man United, would he all of a sudden come back into the fantasy conversation? I think we all agree he's a fantastic player, got great FPL pedigree, arguably get better service at United. That would really break the template, I think, because it's Kane at Man United. That's exciting, right? What do you think?
It would certainly shake things up, and it depends how close to the season's start that it happens. If it happens on a few days before game week 1, I think the community will be in chaos, really, because we'd have settled on certain teams, and then Kane goes to Manchester United. If it happens, because I don't know, there's so many, it just doesn't feel right. But yeah, it would all of a sudden get us looking at maybe going Kane over Salah, having two premiums up front, and just cramming the midfield with those sort of mid-price options. Yeah, it would. Yeah.
Yeah, you're overwhelmed by the.
I was going to say,
I just don't think you can have, like, looking at the pricing. You've got to have Haaland. You've got to have one of the you've got to have Salah. Let's face it, and then you've got so many tempting options, that 8 to 9 million bracket, that you can't be doing those. If you go Kane as well, you're straight away into. It's already difficult getting decent price forwards with a decent midfield without having a Kane in there. I've got 5.5 and 5. That's probably too cheap. I'll probably just get a bit more money, but getting to 12.5, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I just don't see it.
Yeah, certainly if he's still in a way, it's a decision we can't really make yet because we just don't know what's going to happen. And I think it's exciting. I think I'm going to be very excited to see what happens with this saga, because I desperately hope he stays in the Premier League just to make things more interesting for FPL. Because if I completely agree with you. I think the chances of him staying at Spurs are not very high. But if he were to stay, then I would be very interested, because this new Spurs side is, whoever's there, going to be a lot more attacking. So yeah, I think that's certainly very exciting. We will come back to some of these new player prices in a minute, because we had some at Brentford and Wolves, but I think let's go to Mark's team now.
Sorry, Mark, I'm always interrupting you.
Oh yeah, no, that's all right. It's good to jump all over the place. As Mark said, it's chaos is very much where FPL managers feel at home. So yeah. So yeah, you've both talked about Salah, and we've got a second team here. So Chris, you had Salah. Mark, you've got Salah as well. We'll see if I can make that a triple header. We'll find out. But yeah, talk us through your team, Mark. So I'll read it out for the benefit of the podcast listeners, and then you can talk us through some of your decisions. So you've got Pickford and Begovic as a 4.5 and a 4 million Everton double up for your goalkeepers. So you definitely got at least one starting goalie there. Shaw, White, Estupinian as your back three, with Botman and Bell as your substitute defenders. Salah, Saka and Burmo, Rashford and March as your midfield five, and then Haaland and Calvert-Lewin up front.
Yeah, it was almost a good segue from you, Chris, there earlier about Calvert-Lewin, because that was a very late decision, because, as I say, I've been really struggling to find a second striker that appeals, really. I think most of them have either been converted into midfielders, like Mbeumo, or have better teammates in midfield. So it's been a bit of a struggle. I was kind of tempted by Gakpo up front and sort of having a non-Salah team. But Calvert-Lewin at 6 million.
Heresy, non-Salah team. What are you doing?
But Calvert-Lewin at 6 million, not the 7.5 on the screen. That's a pretty good drop from last season, and in some respects, he feels like a trap because he's Calvert-Lewin. But sorry, Chris.
All right.
Good early fixtures, cheap price, and it enables a pretty strong midfield. Although I don't think, for example, March, there's a couple of placeholders there like Pickford and March, really. I think ideally March would be a little bit cheaper, and then maybe Botman could become Pedro Porro, who I'm a massive fan of in FPL terms. But yeah, we sort of share the Salah, Haaland, Saka, Rashford and Bruno.
Yeah, there's a lot of good options. I think it's a decent team. I like the Estupinan thing. Did that come through yesterday after our stream, Brighton? I think it did. Yeah. Or was that, maybe it came through the app? Prices are everywhere. They're just popping out of the woodwork. But Estupinan at 5, that is teasing. That's definitely something I'd be looking at. I probably would want to see how Brighton start defensively, and because they were a bit more gung-ho towards the end. The fact that Everton put 5 past them makes me worry about any defence that Everton can score 5 against. But yeah, no, I think Estupinan's a good shout. White, we haven't had White's final price, have we?
We haven't. If he's 5.5 instead of 5, then he'll probably just be.
Was he 4 million last year or 4.5? Was he something crazy last year? Was he lower than that?
4.5.
4.5. I think it was 4.5. I had White for a lot of the season last year. Shaw's definitely my rationale. I like a lot of this. Solly March over Matoma. What's that about? What are you thinking?
I don't know. Well, ideally it would be neither, in all honesty, but it was just scrolling through. It was the last spot filled on the team, and it was just 6.5 midfielders. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just sort of panicked and put one of them in purely because of those first 2 or 3 fixtures. But yeah, as I say, that's mostly about being a placeholder for that price point. Because yeah, as I said to you there, like one, if Sun Heung-min has a good start to the season, I want that to be an easy transfer to make. If Sterling with his super cheap 7 million price has a good start, then he needs to be an easy sub to make as well. And same with the likes of Porro. If I'm not going to have Trent Alexander-Arnold, then I at least want 3 very good attacking fullbacks to make up for that.
Yeah, I understand that. And I think you're absolutely, you're absolutely right. I think Calvert-Lewin. I mean, if you're watching pre-season and he actually gets fit enough to play, I mean, he was a great option a couple of seasons ago, and obviously he's just spent so much of the time injured. We sold the wrong striker. I think at one point he was the most favourite to go because we needed some cash, and it was Richarlison that went in the end. And I would prefer, obviously because he's fit, but I'm a massive fan of Richarlison. I like DCL as well, but Richarlison was one of those players as a fan you absolutely love. I think a lot of the opponents kind of hate him, but like as a fan, you just because he just gets in people's face, he's falling over, and he's capable of like just incredible genius, and then obviously missing the target a bit. Well, so we replaced the missing the target a bit with Maupe, but we haven't yet got the incredible genius back in. So that's he does get in people's faces, Maupe as well. But yeah, we'll have a new striker. Yeah.
Well, that price reveal for Richarlison earlier sort of didn't expect that as well. So he's another one that could easily come onto the radar. Because I'm not totally comfortable with the 3-5-2 formation. I think normally it would be a 3-4-3 guy, simply because there's probably not going to be a 4.5 striker that plays, but there will be 4.5 midfielders that play. But I just find the midfield options so irresistible right now. So many of them. Just keeping it down to 5 is
hard.
Tough.
And it's annoying when 3-4-3 is something that everybody's so used to. I'm a bit of a religious adherent to 3-4-3, but I think this will be the first season I start in 3-5-2 because I've started in 3-4-3 pretty much every season and then ended up in 3-5-2 at some point. So why not just like bite the bullet now, accept that I have become a 3-5-2 man, and just go from there. And sounds like you've gone through the same thought process as well. Very similar to me in midfield, actually. I like your midfield. I suppose one thing in defence is I think we've had Zinchenko is now 5 million. We've had that confirmed now. So would you prefer Zinchenko over White, or just at the same price, or do you like what White can offer?
I think, well, it's just a wait and see to see what White's price is. I think if he's also 5, but then Arsenal are apparently on the verge of confirming Timber as well. So I think pre-season, yeah. By the end of pre-season, hopefully we'll have a 5 million Arsenal defender that looks to be in the lead. Maybe it's Zinchenko. If Tierney gets sold, for example, that would be a bit more comfortable. It probably will be Zinchenko, but just had White there.
Placeholders are important, aren't they? As you said, working out how you can get to different people is the way to go. And certainly, both of you having Salah, it gives you that opportunity to jump to other people if you need to. I'm gonna stick my team on the screen now because mine is very different. I am the only one of us who has Trent, and I'm also the only one of us who doesn't have Salah for now.
Okay. Before you do this, can I just do a quick interrupt? We've had an update from FPL Towers.
We have. Right, I'll be quiet.
In the Scout stream, apparently, I don't know if this is legit or not, but at 1:10 on their Twitter feed, on their blog, the official blog, I think they said, you all need to just chill. I don't know if that's a real thing. That sounds a little bit spammy, but it is in the correct font, and it does have appeared. So, I think that could equally be Hindu Monkey doing something hilarious. But that's knocking around Twitter at the moment. I also had an update from Reese, who's the Plan FPL guru, who's just saying that the prices are updating at the moment, and they should be live on the main. The back on the site again now, but because as the prices come in, he updates. And it's also, if you use it last season, sometimes the price is from 38 are carrying across unless you get rid of the player and start again. So it's best to start a new draft. That's it. The end of my interruption, and you can go back into your grand reveal of your.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
Gallagher's team. My God, you just said it, and I couldn't believe it until I actually said, "My God."
Yeah, it's a bit nuts, but yeah, I mean, well, first things first, I will try and take Premier League / Hindu Monkeys advice and try and calm down a little bit. I'm going to try and be as calm as possible revealing this team because I'm a little bit nervous about not having Salah. I was less nervous when I put the team together, and then I saw that you both had Salah, and I'm like, yeah, it makes me a bit nervous. But yeah, I'll run through the team for the benefit of the podcast listeners. So Pickford in goal with Horvath, I actually don't know how to say his name, the Luton goalkeeper at 4.5. They're the two goalies I've got at 4.5. Then Trent, Shaw, and Stones. As my starting back three, I should say. Then Henry and Bell are my substitute defenders. Then Fernandes, Gross, Mitoma, Sterling, and Ødegaard is my midfield. And then Haaland and Jesus up front. So, and then I've got, I don't know, is it Dane Scarlett? I'm just going to call him Captain Scarlett. I've got him on the bench.
You're going to Captain Scarlett? That's very brave.
Absolutely, yeah. He's in. I don't know if you've heard, but he's actually indestructible. So, he'll be fine.
That's it. He should probably start a lot of games then if he's indestructible.
He should, yeah. They smash him and they know he'll burn, but in the end, I'm not gonna.
We've now done Captain Scarlet, Warhammer, and Star Trek.
Someone is probably going to be keeping account somewhere. But anyway, back to the slightly less nerdy topic of defensive rotations. I've got I've been thinking about going with a slightly cheaper defense, but then I looked at the fixtures and kind of felt like I did want a Man City defender, and I do like the fact that Stones has this role in midfield now because I think he's a little bit more indispensable to the team than he was when he was just a centre-back. And 5.5 is a price I think I'm willing to pay. I think the fixtures for City are very nice, especially sort of the away games are actually a bit nicer than the home games to start with. I may go something different there, but in terms of my defensive rotation outside of that, I've got Henry because I think that he's gonna come in and capitalise on Brentford's nice fixtures. I mean, I'm amazed that Henry is 4.5 to be honest, because when you look at how they finished the season, I mean, their defence was great. They were one of the best defences across the whole of the campaign. In the second half of the season as well, and then actually, interestingly enough, only two players at Brentford created more chances than Henry in the last 13 matches of the season. So he ended strong and gets forward a lot. So 4.5, I actually think is a bit of a cheat code, possibly. Where he's going to fit into the team, I don't know. If I've got Stones, Shaw, and Alexander-Arnold, we'll have to see. I might downgrade either Shaw or Stones. See what happens there. But yeah, I have to talk about in midfield with Salah. The reason why he's not in my current first draft is I just kind of felt like at what point in the first 6 game weeks am I actually going to captain him? And it wasn't very often. And so comparing Liverpool and Man City's fixtures to begin with, game week 1, we've got Man City away at Burnley and Liverpool away at Chelsea. So that's obviously a Haaland captaincy. Then Man City at home to Newcastle in game week 2. Liverpool are at home to Bournemouth. But do I think that Haaland won't deliver at home to Newcastle? No, I don't think he won't. So I think that when you look at the way that Newcastle's defence finished the season, it wasn't as good as it was before. I can see Man City winning that game comfortably, to be honest. And if they do, Haaland's going to capitalise on that. And yeah, Salah is going to be a captaincy candidate for game week 2. I will completely admit that. But that's basically the only other time in game weeks 1 to 6 where you'd want to do that, because then he's away at Newcastle when Man City are away at Sheffield United. So again, Haaland over Salah. Then game week 4, Man City at home to Fulham when Liverpool are at home to Villa. Again, Haaland wins that one again. Game week 5, Liverpool away to Wolves, who can have a bit of a mean defence sometimes, when Man City are away to West Ham, who we know are a little bit more volatile defensively, and they're going to probably be without Declan Rice. And then game week 6, you've got Liverpool at home to West Ham, who I obviously have just talked up as being a team that you could score against, but Man City are at home to Nottingham Forest, who were the worst team away from home last season. So across those 6, I only would maybe think about captaining Salah once, and so actually spending 12.5 million on him feels like a waste, I guess, because I won't be able to captain him. And so can I use the money elsewhere to beef up my midfield a little bit more? And so having Fernandes, I quite like. We talked yesterday about the fact that I actually think he can maybe match Rashford because he just offers like ridiculous amounts of assist potential on top of the goals, whereas Rashford can really only offer goals. And Burma, we've already waxed lyrical about. Ødegaard is a placeholder because we'll just see what Martinelli is. I think he'd be the one I'd be most interested in if he was also 8.5. Sterling, his price just seems too good, and I'm happy for him to be my like differential that I sort of get in there ahead of everybody else because I do think that they're gonna score goals in their first 2 games. And then, Gross, I think, is the answer to the question of the. I'm going to roll my dice, and it came up with Pascal Gross because, interestingly enough,
that's not a bad shout.
Everybody talked them up last season, right? And March, McAllister, Matoma, and those 3 all ended up in the team of the season nominees for Fantasy Football Scouts Team of the Year. And there was a very important line in the article. I actually can't remember who wrote it, but it was like, the only person here who should feel aggrieved is Pascal Gross because he actually got more points than all 3 of them. The top scoring midfielder for Brighton last year was Pascal Gross, and for some reason he was just never anywhere near the radar. It was very weird. And personally, I think he's probably going to be the guy that benefits from McAllister leaving and getting back on some of those set pieces, most notably the penalties, which he's had a hand in the past. And some of the stats that he was offering at the end of last season, he deserved to be in the conversation. Between game weeks 27 and 38, if you look at Matoma, Gross and March for expected goal involvement, Matoma was the highest with 7.18, but Gross was on 5.67, and crucially, Matoma's goal conversion was 3%, and so he was offered lots of chances that he just couldn't stick away. And so then Matoma's XGI underperformance was huge, whereas Gross was a lot more in line with it. And so Gross created more chances than Matoma, and he had as many shots on target as him. And
no, I mean I had Gross in my draft team. Yeah, it is draft, isn't it? It's draft. Suddenly the word draft has confused me, but yeah, I had him on my team the year before. He was one of the he was outstanding. Not so much last season, but yeah, and he did wade in with a few because I think was he taking set pieces at one point as well.
He was, yeah. He's had a hand in that in the past. I mean, we have to sort of see. They might bring in some new people and things like that. So I'll keep an eye on pre-season, of course, to see if he's still involved.
You've got 500,000 left potentially to play with.
So I should just say I don't have 500,000 left because Pascal Gross is 6.5, and that is just one of the prices that when I did my screenshot hadn't quite made it into Plan FPL yet. It is in Plan FPL now, and so I've left 0.5 in the bank because I didn't want to pretend I had an extra 0.5. Because otherwise I'm just going to end up being disappointed.
That's very honest of you. Yeah, It's like playing the World Cup game, isn't it? You can just keep adding players until have 14 players in the team and all that stuff.
That'd be nice.
Can I just see Mark's team very quickly?
Yeah, sure.
And we'll come back to yours in a second. Yours is, I think, is actually really interesting and different. I just need to see it so I can updates. Because I'm going to put out a poll. I was trying to find out. I'm trying to remember what the distinguishing approach of Marc was.
I've stuck it back on the screen. So it's Pickford, Shaw, White, Estupiñán, Salah, Saka, and Mbeumo, Rashford, March, Haaland, and Calvert-Lewin. I mean, in a way, I wonder if Chris maybe wants to get it framed so he can show that at least one other person other than him is interested in Everton. Is interested in Everton players. You're going to get it, hang it on the wall.
I'm just asking the community a poll, and I was just trying to remember the key features because he'd obviously copied most of my decisions, so I just wanted to make sure. Trying to remember what the differential was. So I'm asking we've just had a poll. We'll come to your team back soon. I've had a poll before about when PL starts. FPL will PL. We know when the Premier League starts, right? When FPL will launch. It's pretty evenly split. Well, 31% said anytime now, and then it's about 20% each for 2 p.m., 20% for 3 p.m., and then 30% for even later. So we're all about as much in the dark as each other, really, aren't we? So it could launch any minute, or it could be another 2 or 3 hours. We're all these people hanging on for their FPL launch parties, and we're having a party right here. We don't have to wait for launch. We're just enjoying it before that. Hang around. We're ahead of the game. But I've also put up a team. So let's go back to your team. Let's because I put up to see whose draft's looking better to our audience of over.
I have to say, so I have raced into a very early lead. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, I mean, clearly you've rallied the David Munn. It's the stats, David. You see, I just went pure bants, and you've gone with actual data to back up your decisions, which people like. Clearly.
I was kind of hoping it was the Warhammer and the Captain Scarlet, but kind of everything.
So let's interrogate it a little bit because I think it's a good.
Rip it to shreds.
I don't like the Gross pick, I must admit, and I'm on the fence about the Sterling pick. I think you can wait for the Sterling pick till game week 2 or 3. I don't think he's going to race up in price because he's so competitively priced to begin with. Admittedly, because you've gone the structure you've gone and you've got a very good front line. I love Jesus alongside Haaland. I think my main criticism of my team so far is going to be getting more Arsenal players in. Like, Arsenal have great fixtures to start. They're strengthened a team which started like a train last year. Hopefully they're going to, if they start the same way, you're going to want 3, never mind 2. So having Jesus and Odegaard, whether that's Odegaard, Saka, or whatever, but Martinelli at the start is great. So I kind of jealous of that. I'm jealous of having managed to shoehorn Trent here because I do really want Trent. I mean, you've got Trent, Stones, and Shaw. You've got a heck of a back line there, and you've got Bell and Henry. You've got a really strong defence.
That's what happens when you go without Salah. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing. That's the decision we're all having to make. People were saying that, the prices are wrong. The Hindu Monkey came with a great line. He was going, at least the FPL is doing something to combat inflation. He was saying, is it basically because obviously the prices, he was saying they're going down every year, blah, blah. So, but actually, I don't think I think they, in some prices look cheap, but I don't think it's as easy as everyone's saying. I think the players that perform that you want have been ramped, and Haaland's expensive. To get Haaland, to get Kane, to get Salah, Trent, to get the favourite players, the players that the probably more casual managers coming in are going to just want because they love those players. It's hard. You can't get all of them, so you're going to have to shop around. And I think there'll be a bit of a template, but I don't think it's going to be as strong from game week 1. I think it may take a couple of game weeks to get to that template this time round. I certainly hope so, because it's been, barring anything that happens what's going to happen in pre-season for everybody that's not playing that often is 1 or 2 players are going to look at who are priced at 4.5 million are suddenly going to score a hatful of goals or kind of be, play that position or just come onto the radar, and everyone's going to kind of gravitate towards them. I even remember when that happened with Trent years ago. I remember when that happened with Ben Rama. There's always someone that comes pre-season that everyone goes, oh, we've got to get him in. And they're usually around that, between the 4 to 5 million mark. So that will help the template. But I think the fact we've got 3 quite different sides, and okay, it's our first go, is encouraging for me, right? For the nature of this being a game that's different and competitive and moving about. So I like the team a lot. I like Fernandes as well. Fernandes and Shaw's close to me. I think Sterling's a brave punt. It's a good way to go. But I don't know if I want him straight away. So I might consider tweaking him out.
Who would you swap him for?
Gross to Matoma. So yeah, if you go Matoma.
So you want go Matoma in for Gross. My question is, who would you put in as a 7 million placeholder if you think Sterling's worth the wait? Because I suppose the answer to that question can't be Salah, because the structure largely is going to.
He's not 7 million.
Yeah, well, imagine that. That'd be lovely. Yeah, so I don't know who do you feel is a 7 million who you'd want instead of him from the start? Unless I've put you on the spot.
I'm just looking. I'm looking now. Mount, has he been announced yet? That's been suggested he might be 7. Would you want Mason Mount? I don't know.
I probably wouldn't. I think he's a great player, but he perhaps will just be one pass away from the assist, unfortunately.
What did they come out with City? What were the City prices?
Oh, yeah, let's stick them back on the screen, actually. That's a good point, because Grealish is 7.5, Bernardo Silva is 6.5. And so...
Bernardo's 6.5, yeah, that's what Plan FPL's got. So Bernardo, if I knew Bernardo was starting, I had him the season before last, and he was gold. If you knew he was going to start regularly, obviously that's the problem. They've not got KDB's not there for the start, is he? Someone was telling me again. I can't. I think KDB's got an injury that's going to keep him out from the start of the season. Is that correct?
The one from the final, the Champions League final.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he's. Yeah. I don't know. I think.
That's why Foden's price would be interesting. Do you think he might stay at 8, or do you think he might drop maybe? Or Foden?
Yeah, you think given the game time, Foden's a great player but didn't get the game time. You think he's got to drop. He's got to drop in price. They have him in Plan FPL. They don't have him at 7, 7.5, I think. I'm just looking at it now. Richarlison. I don't know.
Well, someone else has mentioned in the chat, as A. Dawson has mentioned Maddison, whose price we haven't seen yet.
He's not going to be 7 million.
We don't think it's going to be 7 million, but we think maybe it'd be about 8 million. And, I could maybe put Maddison in for Sterling and, maybe save some money elsewhere because I have got Stones and Shaw. And I sort of wonder if maybe them on top of Trent is maybe too much, especially with some defenders I'd like to rotate. The only thing I would say is that Spurs' fixtures, they take just a little bit longer. So, because, Richarlison as well is perhaps worth considering if Kane's not there. But their fixtures take a little bit longer to be worth investing in. So,
it's only a little bit, though. They're away to Brentford first match.
Yeah.
That's probably a tough one. Home to United.
It's game week 3 where they look a lot nicer. Bournemouth away.
Burnley, Sheffield United run. That's the time you're going to want to be, you want to be investing in there. And I don't think it's going to be Kane. So you're going to be looking at Maddison or Richarlison or Son or Kulusevski. There's almost too many options there.
To be honest, what I'm thinking of is I would use my Brighton midfielder to switch to a Spurs midfielder because game week 3 is also when Chelsea get tasty as well. And as I keep saying, I still think there's goals for Chelsea against Liverpool and West Ham, because they're just not defences that I trust at all. And so, I to be honest, I'm kind of happy leaving Sterling there. I don't really want a Brighton player for much longer than I think it's the first 3, because it's Luton at home, Wolves away, West Ham at home, then Newcastle at home, Man United away, 2 not very nice games. It's kind of around that time that I'd maybe switch to... it's a bit of a jump to go from Matoma or Gross up to Maddison, potentially, but... if I'm doing it with
yourself some money. I think that's a key thing that I don't do enough, and I always, when I start my drafts, I do it, and then when I get to the first week and the panic before the first game week, I get rid of it. But having like $1 million in the bank, or at least a half, is kind of vital, because if you get it, if someone just goes bananas and it is even the same price as a player you've got and they've gone up 0.1, suddenly your options to move are massively reduced. So having a little bit of money in the bank is really worth, early on, it's worth a lot. Obviously mid-game it's worth a lot as well, because hopefully you've built up your transfer value through buying and selling. But early on, having that half or 1 million the first few weeks gives you so much flexibility, because it just means you can get to more players with one move rather than straight away taking a hit, right? What about Mahrez, 7.5? Not interesting. Mahrez did quite well for me. Bowen at 7. I guess the fixtures aren't really.
I was going to say Bowen could be.
Bowen at 7 could be an option. I don't know. You could. I guess the thing is, you're saying you want Chelsea for that run. So why book a transfer if you're going to give Sterling a go?
Yeah, I think I've got a gut feel that could be wrong. You never know. Just at the moment, I feel like I want there to be some part of this that's going to be different. I've got a lot of players that other people will have. I think that I can just envisage a game week 3 Chelsea bandwagon, and if I'm already on it beforehand, I just feel like that could just be the extra bit of spice my team needs just to help establish a really strong start. We'll have to see how preseason goes and see where they all play. And Kunku is it's turning my head in terms of what I'm seeing in terms of his individual stats. It's just I have an issue with his position. Because how do I fit a 7.5 million striker into this team when I also want Jesus? And so. But in pre-season, if he's playing as like a number 10 or he's playing on the wings and he's still scoring goals, then maybe he's still worth it. So I want to be able to tell myself I've got a Chelsea slot. Who's going to have it? And at the moment, Sterling seems the most likely. I don't want to write off Mudryk either, who we talked about yesterday.
No, it's a really brave team. I think if we can look at the looking at the votes as well, I've not done well in this. I'm not going to dress it up. I'm not going. There's not a lot of love. It's all right. I don't judge you. I love you all. I like you've come along to listen to me ranting on. I got a 5K finish. I'm like 1 year, and I've got a couple of top 50Ks as well. I'm not absolutely dreadful at this game. I've been doing this for about 15 years, but clearly the love is not for my team. Double Everton is not getting the love. Marc, I'm afraid you're doing better than me, Marc. So that's good. You're getting over twice as much. The thing that I thought would get the most is come on, they're all equally bad. I deliberately put that in there because I was going to save all our faces by nobody winning, and that everybody would obviously vote for that. That's the comedy option. But what they have actually done against all the odds is vote for your team, David.
Against all the odds?
It's dreadfully backfired on me. This, I mean, this
Good
this
luck.
is awful. But no,
Good luck when Salah faces Bournemouth and going without, because that's
Well,
going to be nervous.
that's fine. Mate, I got Raheem Sterling. I'll be fine.
Raheem Sterling, yeah, he's going to score. No, it's good. So
He will do
congratulations.
well. Well, thank you very much. Yeah.
We'll give it up to 300 votes. You get another 40 to try and. It's too late for me. I feel. I feel I'm not going to make a run in this poll. Come on.
As long as you're not going to get relegated from the stream, imagine
I am.
that.
That's it. I get cut off. Somebody has voted for me. That was very cute. Thank you, whoever did that. That I really appreciate. But yeah, and also while you're clicking on things, you 300 odd people voting, whatever. Do click on the like. Click on the like. Click on the subscribe. That's what we want. We need to come. That's what the kids like. That's what YouTube likes. Presumably, you're sitting there at your lunchtime, nothing better to do. If you want us to keep doing this as well, you've got to give us some love. But yes, sorry, I segue again. But your team's good. I can't argue it. It's going to make me go back and rethink my first draft, which may change.
I mean, that's what it's all about.
Teams are subject to change.
Rethinking. There's going to be so many drafts over the summer, and I may at some point try a Salah one. And I do just want to clarify, because Mark, you are very wise to warn me of how much of a mess Game Week 2 could be for me. I do appreciate it completely. I just kind of feel like I can maybe ride it, because his EO is not going to be as big in Game Week 2 as it maybe would have been in previous years when we didn't have Haaland in the game, because there's going to be a lot of people that just auto-captain Haaland again, I think. There will also be a lot of people who don't even own Salah, who might have to take... Salah will maybe get a goal in the first game week when his Game Week 1 ownership is lower than usual, just by the very nature of the fact that it's harder to get him in this year than probably ever before. And so people will be breaking their teams to get him in, so there'll be -4s, -8s all over the shop to captain him. And so then I don't actually think that's going to damage me as much. And then, of course, when people have broken their teams to get him in, and then they're sat there not captaining him against Haaland in Game Week 3, 4, 5, and 6, I just think I can ride that across. But so I just want to clarify that him not being in my team doesn't mean I think he's a bad option. It doesn't mean I think that he's not going to do well. It's just, to what extent will it benefit my team? And I think even though it's not him, a useful comparison is maybe Harry Kane from last year, because he had his best ever season for FPL points, but he never really went past scoring 6, 7s, 8s every week, and was a steady, reliable asset to have. But I never captained him because I had Haaland, so I never really was able to maximise his output, and it damaged other areas of my team to have Haaland and Kane and Salah, for example. And so
I brought in Haaland for last game week and didn't captain him. What was I thinking? That was kind of. I only just squeaked the only mini league that these days I can comfortably win. Although a couple of seasons I've won quite a few, but it's my son's football club, Northfields United FC, by far the greatest team the world's ever seen. And they, I've won that league like 4 or 5 years in a row, and I was getting, or certainly 3 or 4 years in a row, and I was getting a bit cocky because I was like, well, fantasy football scout, I'm usually going to walk this, I'll give you a head start. And if anybody beats me, I give them like 50 quid. Fine. So up until the last 3 weeks, I was like 3rd or 4th in the league going, this is going to be expensive. And then it was Callum Wilson that helped me out. I must admit, he did me a lot of favours. And then bringing Kane in, just about squeak. I think I won by about 8 points. But I didn't, if I'd captained, bloody Mark Southerns, if you can believe it. Who? I know, who's this guy? I don't know. He both him and Az leapfrogged me in that last week. And Mark had come from like 17 million, I think, or something ridiculous. He was a long way down. Certainly 2 million. Maybe there wasn't 17 million players. But I mean, it just shows how even one decision can make such a difference. It's I think next year, talking about Haaland and captaincy, it's going to be really interesting to see who's going to start breaking kind of formation and going against the Haaland captaincy, because almost like now at 14 million, you're even more committed to captain him, right? If you've got him in the team and he's a 40 million player, which means you can't get certain other players. If you've got him, you're going to play him, captain him almost every week. You just by nature, unless he starts being rested and Alvarez gets more time, or he's injured or whatever. But there wasn't really much of that. Even when he got started off the bench, he came on and scored, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, I
mean,
mean,
do you think he should do it again? I don't know. What do you think?
Maybe. I mean, Mark, you've been having a look ahead at some of the key dates for the rest of the year. There is a big sort of stumbling block further down the road for Man City towards Christmas. Have you thought about what you might be doing with your team around that time? Because of course, City are going to have a blank game week, possibly even two. Have you? Is that something you're thinking about early? Well, I mean, you're not going to think of it for game week 1, but you must be on your radar.
What, the Haaland game week?
Yeah, blank game week 18, yeah. And there's possibility of maybe one in 17 if their travel arrangements mean they can't quite make the Palace game as well.
Yeah, I haven't even thought that far ahead really yet, but hopefully the rest of the team is doing so well and there's 2 transfers in the bank that anything is possible with that. But yeah, he's, as pointed out in the comments, actually, Haaland's between game weeks 8 and 15, the City games get slightly tougher by their standards anyway. So that could be if someone wanted to risk going without Haaland, but I know I won't be.
Do you think he'll get figured out? I mean, like I was lucky enough to see him play live a couple of times. I was very fortunate to be given by someone else a ticket to the City Arsenal match at the Emirates, and not the 81, but he just looked like Arsenal were on top for a chunk of that game and looked comfortable position. But then he just suddenly, like, it's just like the Hulk. He just suddenly kind of like moves and grows. And I don't know how you, like, the Arsenal defense looked terrified half the time, and certainly at the return fixture they were. I don't know how you play him really, because he's not, the guy's got a great touch as well. You know, he can pull off some flashy volleys. He's strong, and he's just so hard to close down. I don't know how you play against him really. I mean, unless you kind of got 2 on him all the time. But then with City, there's so much talent around him that you're just gonna, you're gonna get the knockdown ball's gonna get, hoovered up, isn't it? So
the only thing that no one's tried yet is what they did with the Hulk in Age of Ultron, which is just to go up to him and be like, "Hey, big guy, the sun's getting real low," and just calm him down. Just calm him down a little bit.
Oh, at the Marvel reference. Well, I started it, you finished it. That's good. We've gone back to movies. But no, in all seriousness, unless he gets injured, I just don't see how you can figure him out, because I don't think his game's not obvious. I don't think people don't know what he's going to do. It's not like a St. Maximan or maybe a Richarlison, or I suppose it's the same with Kane. You kind of know what Kane's going to do, but yeah, no one seems to be able to really neutralize him. Yeah, I don't think I agree, Seb. I'm not saying he will fade. I've got no idea. I don't know how he's going to. It's kind of bad for the Premier League and the game, because I don't know. He is a cheat code, like you like to say, David. He's just the guy's huge.
He is nuts. I mean, while we've just been chatting through that, I have been looking at the season ticker just to compare Liverpool in that run where City's games are not as nice, and that could be a time where we do see the captaincy switch. I don't think people will necessarily move away from owning him, but in terms of the captaincy, the fixtures do look nicer for Liverpool. So game week, it's more game week 9 really, where it starts to let's start with game week 8, because Arsenal away to City away to Arsenal, when Liverpool away to Brighton, and then you've then got game week 9, Liverpool are at home to Everton, when Man City are at home to Brighton, and so that's nicer for Liverpool. Then Man City are away at United.
Very difficult game, David. I don't know what you're saying there.
Sorry. But United, City are away to Man United in game week 10, when Liverpool are at home to Nottingham Forest. So Nottingham Forest, famously last season's worst team away from home. So that could be one way Captain Salah over Haaland, for example. You've got other instances where City are away to Villa, when Liverpool away to Sheffield United. Then that's 15. Game week 14, Spurs will be coming to Man City, when Fulham are coming to Anfield. So again, that's a nicer fixture for Liverpool. It's really those comparisons with Liverpool that will dictate whether or not you take the captaincy of Haaland. I think most people will probably be in a position where they'd still want to own Haaland for that run, because you can easily see him still just doing well in that period. So just to read out in full, 8 to 15 for City. It's away at Arsenal. We've seen him do well there. Home to Brighton, away to United, home to Bournemouth. So you need Haaland for that, for sure. Away to Chelsea, home to Liverpool, home to Spurs, and away to Villa. None of those teams are teams that we feel can stop him. So you own him, but then you maybe just captain Salah in those slightly more attractive Liverpool fixtures is probably the way to go about it, I would imagine. Unless you guys... Well, I haven't looked at Man United. They could be the other place to look to, or maybe even Spurs. I don't know if Kane's still there. But Salah is the usual point of reference for that captaincy, I think.
It's a fair point when you're saying about Salah when the captaincy... Because that used to be, obviously, the captaincy used to be the appeal of these big players. that maybe maybe you can survive without him. I don't know. I guess we'll see how he starts. Whether last year he did quite well points anyway, but like it wasn't his he just didn't look the same player. I think it's his big contracts. What they all do, they get the big contract they've wanted for ages, and then they kind of take the foot off the pedal. That's the whole thing. Someone's asking the window. It's Roynish Jubo. I hope I pronounced that right. Who do you think creates more panic, Peak Suarez or Haaland? Suarez. What do you think? Suarez is more bitey, so I don't know. Would you say Suarez is scarier than Haaland?
That is a tough question. Haaland?
I think Haaland's scarier. I just, as a defender, not because he's going to rough you up. It's just so like, what do you do? It's like he's playing against like what's his name? The All Blacks guy. Was it what's the famous huge All Blacks player? Oh God, now it's going to
John Lomu. No,
Lomu. Yeah, it's like that kind of thing. I mean, not like he's not just big, but I don't know. He's so powerful. I don't know. It is quite fearsome kind of watching him. We'll see how it goes. Maybe he'll will be more sussed out. Maybe people will start. I guess once one team starts to nullify him with some sort of approach, then everyone else can put on that. Maybe it'll be Diceball that sorts it. I don't know. We'll see. Ronish has gone for Suarez as well. So there you go.
I think I'm going to go with Haaland. I think there's two contexts here, because he hasn't defined whether he means football or FPL, because they obviously are slightly different. And from a footballing perspective, I think at the very least you knew how you could deal with Suarez. And at the very least, if you weren't worrying about Suarez, you also had to worry about Sturridge, which, I mean, that really ages this conversation. But with Haaland, it's just like nobody can stand toe for toe with the man because he's just so big. But then from an FPL perspective, it's like Suarez was just set and forget because he was Suarez and rotation wasn't a thing there. But there were times last season where we had to take Haaland out because we felt like we had to, and then he would punish us or whatever. We've got the blank game week coming up as well this year, which I think is going to confuse people and stress people out, and we're going to see a lot of free hits deployed because they don't want to sell Haaland or whatever. Like that's creating panic. There's chaos there. There's just more chaos surrounding him because he plays in a more rotating team. So yeah, that would be my answer. But it's a good comparison though, because Suarez is probably the last time that we had just an out-and-out goal-scoring striker of the same quality. I know we got Harry Kane, but he was kind of patchy, or can be patchy.
Kane.
Yeah, he was feast or famine. Although last season he was just steady Eddie.
Last season he was almost the complete opposite, wasn't he? Last
he was
just
steady Eddie.
Every match, delivering the points. He was the sort of player you'd have. You'd want to be in there. 12.5 mil. And it's going to be the same again. That's the end result is great, but yeah, you're not going to captain him. That's the thing. I reckon we probably can go to 2 and see the game launches. What do you reckon?
I think that's fair. I think we've seen a few. There's a few people in the comments, I think, who are wondering if we maybe we started late, just in the hope that we would. Oh, can we get the launch live on our video? Honestly, nothing of the sort. We're all very busy at Scout. We've all got meetings. We've all got things we've got to sort, and we just went live when we went live. And we haven't necessarily done this video with the distinct intention of being live at the same time as the launch. We just wanted to talk through our teams. We wanted to talk through some of the prices. And if the game launches while we're live, then that's a nice bonus. I think
the last few years, it's been a bit later in the day. Because it's not like they can just do the pro. I think they've got things they've got to put in process before. I think there's and it goes into that updating mode. I haven't really looked at this. I'm actually look at the site now, which is probably a good thing we should have done. Because at the moment, let's have a look. Status is still game week 38. So I think they kind of have to flush last season, if that makes sense. First, I could be wrong. I don't really know exactly.
Yeah, that's the first clue, isn't it? Usually.
Yeah, so. But at the moment, I think the first clue you're going to get that it's more imminent is when you start. Like it's like when during the game weeks, you go to an updating phase between I could be totally wrong. I'm really the least technical person in the world, but so it might. But I get in my head that's what's going to happen. There'll be kind of like a notable change.
Because we've seen a lot of prices already, but there'll be still some players that we're still curious to see when the game launches. Who are the first players you want to find the price for?
Who are you looking for, Mark? Is there anyone who've not seen yet who you're not sure about, or players you've not seen yet you're confident of the price of, but you just want confirmation that that's what they are?
Well, immediately sort of names like Madison and Martinelli come to mind, but I'm sure if I really, really thought about it, someone else would come up. But yeah, maybe a couple of different. Ben White, of course, who was in my team. Yeah, mostly.
I'd like to see more City players. I mean, like I'm going to want at least 2 City, if not 3. So that's going to be really important for me to see where we've already had like 5 or 6 is it in total. I think maybe we've got 5 in City. So I need to see where like Samaras stuff plug in. I'll be looking at that early on. Yeah, I think Madison. We've all said I'm not as excited about him until I see what goes on at. I want to until I see how they line up and when I know where Kane's there. I think Madison with Kane. I think I probably would. Seb Gold is working for the flagging NHS. Got to give that fantastic. Go and do some work. Much loved. You don't get paid enough. Go and tell someone that. But thanks, Seb. Sorry. I'm giving a shout. I'm getting very political now. Shout out for the NHS. FPL Gem says 2 p.m. launch and someone who was saying
Vivian. Sorry, I've cut across you.
Sorry, hi, my name is Edison. Says they are updating things. So the top transfers in and out are down to 0. That I don't know if that's a new thing or was that like that before. Yeah, I don't know if that is that different? Was that?
Yeah, I got to be honest, I'm not sure, but certainly there were always telltale signs on the site to let you know that things are in motion, and we do expect it to be today. And yeah, sorry to cut across you, Chris. I was just going to pick out Vivian, who said that they were after the Tottenham and Brentford goalkeeper prices, which is actually where I mean I'm a broken record on this, but I'm desperately hoping that Raya gets priced at 5 million and Flecken doesn't, based purely on the fact that Raya hasn't left yet. Because if we can get a 4.5 million Brentford goalkeeper, I am all over that. I'm straight in. I wouldn't even want to rotate that person. I would want to get them and put in a 4 million goalkeeper, because I do think that a Brentford goalie at 4.5 could be quite a set and forget, just based on the way that they play. And if you want more info on that, go check out the Flecken Scout Report. Go listen to yesterday's stream. I'm not going to waste everybody's time with just me going over the details of it again. But that would be really nice. And it would maybe even make me potentially reconsider Henry, not because I think he's a bad option, but do I want to double up? I don't know. It's just that the Brentford goalkeeper will sit in that sweet spot of clean sheet, saves, bonus, that sort of thing.
If
and
it was
then
4.5, then probably Leno would go out for me for him straight away. I'm not. I'd like to see him play friendlies first and see that he can actually save. But Raya was like my keeper all through most of last season. And never did it.
Well,
the number of bonus points he got was just astounding.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Flecken, just in short, is that he pretty much did all of the same things that Raya did. Appreciate, obviously, it's in a different division, but the style of goalkeeper that he is very, very similar. His save percentage was very similar. His ability to distribute the ball was very similar. And so then you plug that into a Brentford defence that outside of the goalie isn't going to change. It feels like a very like-for-like replacement, which 10 years ago you would be like, duh, of course it is. It's a goalkeeper, but we live in this age of lots of different types of goalkeepers, and Raya especially is one who is big on being part of that team in terms of the build-up as well as being able to make saves. So yeah, fingers crossed on that. We've actually had a couple of people talk about hoping for Matty Cash at 4.5, which actually, I'd quite like that. We had a look at some defensive rotations, and Villa and Palace rotate really nice with each other, and they're two defences that I actually think are very, very capable. Unfortunately, we're never going to get Martinez at 4.5 million, so it's hard to rotate him really with Sam Johnston at 4.5. And so if we could rotate maybe a Mitchell or a Marc Guéhi, they're both at 4.5 with a 4.5 Villa, that would be really nice. But so far what we've seen I think Moreno's coming at 5, so we might not get Cash at 4.5, but we'll have to see.
Mings is 4.5, but then the question is, Pau Torres, is that his spot or is that for the other centre-back slot? Something to find out.
Yeah, and his history with Villa is a bit patchy in the sense that he was a bit of an icon, and then he went through a period where his status at the club was a little bit in doubt, and I think he was even stripped of the captaincy. And I know this has all happened under previous managers, and he's come in and done well under Emery, but yeah, you're right. Like how that defense gets shaped up is with the new signings is going to be interesting. Again, it's another reason why everybody should be following the preseason page on Fantasy Football Scout, where you're going to get all those minutes. It's the only place basically where you can actually see all of that data accumulated in one place. Who's playing minutes in what different position? Keep an eye on those Villa preseason games, because that's what you'll see.
We've had an Ask David. It's a bit late in the stream. It's been going for over an hour. But NT has said apparently you're a little bit louder than we are.
Oh,
I know.
okay. I get told this all the time.
I know. I'm usually, people tell me I'm very quiet and I don't speak enough. That's not ever been said to me. But there you go. Launch the game, says Soren. I'm not in charge, mate. We can't do it. There was some other interesting comment in this. Oh God, I lost it now. Someone was asking earlier about, can you create a team with just the top scoring players? And I can't remember what it was, so I apologise. I scrolled through, but that's what Rate My Team is. Points prediction really is to not only, obviously you can create a team of people who scored the most last season, which is kind of useful, and I'm sure Scout probably has that already considered. There's probably already top scores, and you can kind of see it yourself from the game before it changes. But yeah, for points predictions, Rate My Team is a very smart algorithm system, whatever, that kind of projects which players are going to score best, we think, each week, and what they're going to get. So that's part of the Fantasy Football Scout Premium Members area. This advert's been brought to you now. So if you haven't had that before, then do check that out. We're at our pre-season rates now, so it's relatively reasonable, far less than a cup of coffee, certainly around my way, each month. Advert over. Sorry, you may continue. So, what are you saying, David?
No. Well, no. It's now is the time to be talking about it, because certainly the tools that we have available will be very, very helpful. So, yeah. A couple of people mentioning in the chat that we've got Collins coming in as well at Brentford. He's coming from Wolves. So there's another bolstering asset for their defence. And also we've got Vasilis asking about Pinnock's price, which we haven't seen yet. And that could be quite interesting because he did really well last year. I was just going to see what he was. My guess is 5 million for him. I was just going to have a quick look on Plan FPL to see what the prediction was there. And they've got him Pinnock at 4.5. I tell you what, Pinnock at 4.5 would be very exciting, but we'll just have to see really. It's just they've got Ben Mee at 5, so
yeah,
that's the thing. But the thing is, they've revealed Mee at 5 and they've revealed Henry at 4.5, and so the rest of that defense is very much up in the air, because I think that Henry, I'd rather own Henry over Mee anyway. So it'd be intriguing to see what happens there. But Pinnock's just overall point score was very good.
I think Mee got a bit more attention because of scored the odd goal, didn't he? But actually, yeah, you're right. Underlying, I think Henry was a much better option. So I had Henry for chunks. He was solid until near the end. But yeah, that's true. Yeah, I. Is there anybody else you really want to see that we're desperately waiting for? First player to check out. What? I'm City for me. I think still with City. So.
Yeah, and I suppose I think we've kind of already talked about it, but Martinelli as well is quite an important one. We kind of expect him to probably be the same prices as the other guys, but we're certainly gonna. I put Ødegaard in my draft simply because I just needed to put an Arsenal player there. It's very much a placeholder. I want 2 Arsenal attackers for the start of the season. Jesus is basically locked in for me at this point, and then it's just who of the midfielders we're going to go for. We're going to do a video on that actually in the next couple of days, just sort of breaking down all of the different Arsenal attacking assets to work out who is the best ones to own at the start of the season. And I just want to see if Martinelli tracks with Ødegaard and Saka's prices, which I expect that he will. But I really need to. I want to go down into minute detail and discover which of the one who's got the most touches in the box, who's got the most shots in the box, who's got the biggest chances, who's the most accurate, who's creating the biggest chances from an assist potential. And it would be nice to know just how much Martinelli is, so I can make that comparison as fair as possible. Because I do think that's going to be a huge. It's not even, we've already talked about it with Brighton. It's not even a 50-50. You're going to have to roll some dice to work out which of these Arsenal players is the one to go for. So that is something I'm particularly interested in, is the Arsenal attack, really.
I'm going to come out here with a bit of a bold prediction, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
I don't think the game's launching at 2 p.m.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
So my money's on the various FPL launch parties, whatever they are, starting a bit later. Yeah, Mr. T says 5 p.m. ish. I don't know. It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, no one knows Mr. T. I think everybody thinks that logically lunchtime's a better time. It is 2 p.m. The game's not launched. Dong. Father Christmas has not arrived yet. Maybe he
Christmas is
has.
cancelled.
Yeah, Christmas, it's over. It's all a joke. We're not going to do FPL this year. No, yeah, it's going to be today. I think I'd be amazed if it wasn't today. But it's a difficult game, and I think people don't appreciate enough. And this is probably how much work goes into it. We do some bits with the PL, and I there's a lot of people involved, and it's a big old game now to serve almost 12 million players. And to keep it up, most of the time, and everyone gets very critical when it goes down. If you compare what FPL is like every week with what happened during the World Cup game, I don't really anybody here played that. I mean, unbelievable. Like, it was just astonishingly bad on everything. They hadn't even finished the player prices before the game launched, I don't think. I know whoever was involved, I'm sure you were very good at your job, and maybe you got a very short deadline, but it made me appreciate FPL 100 times more. It's like, yeah, okay. There's been a couple of times it's been a bit squirrely around the deadline, but should you really be waiting till the last 5 minutes to make your transfers? Like, you've got a week, so I don't know.
Did somebody that's one of the FPL gods decide that it has to be on the hour? I mean, who's to say it's not like 2:07 or something?
Oh, you're trying to keep us going for 6 more minutes. I see Mark Johnson's got a
I think we all naturally want everything to be well-rounded and stuff like that, but it could just be like 3:12 or something.
It could be just whenever is there some sort of significant number they should be going for? Mark, you are a sage and you know your onions. That's a classic carry-on gag there. But yeah, that's a good point. It doesn't have to be on the hour. I think we just like it, right? So what is the criteria to work for a group like Scout? I'm sure many watching would love your jobs. Right now, I bet you wouldn't. But yeah, I mean, it's a good question, Dale. We actually do. We brought a lot of people through. The Scout network, and its various sites and staff. Like, I started this business with Mark Southerns. Really, there's about 12 years ago, I think. I don't know, it seems a long time. And then it was only 3 or 4 of us core people then, and that's kind of grown and grown and grown. And we do bring people through. So the first way to get involved is to approach us. We've got support mails and just reach out. We're always open to people with new ideas. If you've got kind of interesting tools, or if you've got interesting opinion, if you want to, doing some cool stuff on video, or you want to submit an article, you can submit guest articles, community articles to the site. So just join as a free member or a premium member. Premium member is better, obviously, but you can join as a free member. That's totally cool. And once you're in, you can then submit articles to the site, and then some of the people that started out as community contributors then became pro pundits or regular contributors, and then became staff members and stuff. And a lot of the team have kind of grown that way throughout over the years. So yeah, get in touch. We're always, we can't hire everybody, but we're a broad church. We always like new talent. So yeah, next week you could be sitting in David's chair.
Hold on a minute, what? True, just going to quickly call my union. 1 second.
Oh, yes, that's right. Dale Southworth, I'm an accountant, must be more fun than that. Well, I don't know. Imagine, I'm just the last thing on this, and I'll let you talk out. Imagine this is our April kind of 5th or whatever. This is our March during the end of year accounts period. So that's what it's like at the moment. We make me seem very calm. I've had no sleep for 3 days, been working all weekends. There's so much to do, and we've still got so much more to do before the start of the season. It's a lot of work goes behind the scenes. So yeah, it's fun, but yeah, it's not always easy. Sorry, I've come off. I've not slept. You've got to interrupt me, David. Take over.
Well, I was just going to say, I think if he's an accountant, my FPL team could do one of those, because I always struggle to work within the budget. So yeah, get in touch with me just to help me, get all the right players in, I would say. So
you should change your name to FPL accountant. That's it. You should become the price exchange expert, the FPL economy. That's a great idea. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll probably bring the stream to a close then, if we can see so far that the game isn't launched. But we will be keeping we'll be staying vigilant throughout the rest of the day. And when the game does launch, we will be making sure that we are right there with you, engaging with you, and building our not final teams. They're our final first draft teams. Once we've had prices confirmed and we're not in Plan FPL and when we're back in the main game, we will let you know. And we'll bring you that. So yeah, and just a quick other reminder to like this video, to subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification as well. It's entirely possible that you end up finding out that the game is launched because you get a notification from the YouTube channel, because you might have been busy doing something else. I can't think what. I can't think of anything in your life more important than this right now. But just in case your priorities are wrong today, the YouTube notifications will help you put them right. So yeah, make sure you got that ticked as well. But with that, I'll say a goodbye from me.
It's goodbye for me. The game is about 20 years old, by the way, Agung. So,
and goodbye for me as well.
Cheers all. Speak to you soon.